synergistic approaches for collaborations are proving effective in closing these gaps.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. And likewise, echo Rosalind in saying thank you to all the wonderful speakers that have spoken before me as well. In terms of data gaps, I think one of the most persistent challenges in the gender-environment nexus is that traditional environmental data is focused on ecosystems, overlooking gendered human interactions. A personal experience of mine, when we were having the discussion in the UN Statistical Commission, trying to have like global indicator framework on climate change, it is purely on ecosystems and nothing on people, on individuals, and therefore lacking on gendered human interactions. So a case in point also is like the limited sex disaggregated environmental data that we see. For example, in Uganda, women dominate agriculture and water collection, and yet labor and environmental data that you often find in official statistics, they always remain uncounted and invisible. Lack of data on gender differentiated climate impacts. During Cyclone Idai in Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe, women faced higher mortality and displacements, and yet climate data hindered, gender differentiated climate data hindered targeted responses to them. But aside from their lived experiences, aside from what's happening to them, we also lack the data in terms of what is being done to address them. So there's also gaps in policy data. So despite growing evidence of climate change gendered impacts, data on government's responsive actions in mitigation, adaptation, and disaster response remains scarce, limiting knowledge sharing, and most importantly, accountability. So in terms of innovative and synergistic approaches, let me just group it into three groups: enabling environment, data production, and data use. So in terms of enabling environment, we are trying to ensure that there's strengthening data governance and coordination through citizens' engagement in developing gender data ecosystems. So for example, UN Women and OECD Paris 21 have developed a framework, we call it Participation for Transformation, that it promotes engagement, involvement, as well, and most importantly, empowerment across the full gender data value chain, strengthening ownership, partnerships, and evidence-based policymaking. So it's citizens' engagement throughout the gender data value chain. The second is the statistical framework on citizen data. Like just right before the CSW, we had the UN Statistical Commission. And it is for the first time, the framework on defining what citizen data is recognized by chief statisticians, by national statistical offices. That in itself is a huge landmark on citizen data. And then on data production, just saying that the Women Count program, which we get support also from Ireland, is really promoting standalone surveys on gender and environment surveys, because that's not a normal business within national statistical offices. And along with that, citizen data also comes along with these official statistics. For example, we were having conversation with the National Statistics Office of Colombia. Like they are intentionally now including indigenous peoples in their official surveys to ensure that the indigenous peoples in the Amazons are included. And lastly, in terms of data use, developing data to assess policy performance across countries. So UN Women, IUCN, and the Kashaf Institute are developing the Gender Equality and Climate Policy Scorecard. It is a global tool to monitor gender-responsive climate action. So launching it at the COP30, it will track the 2025 cycle of NDCs, converting policy commitments into data for cross-country comparison, policy learning, and most importantly, accountability.